Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy that you're here. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the latest episode of Grey's Anatomy while I do my eye makeup. So if that sounds like your thing, if you like Grey's Anatomy, if you're just here for the makeup, whatever it is, I hope that you stick around. Thanks so much for being here. Let's just get right into it. It is a beautiful day. It is so nice and sunny with a nice cool breeze. I'm just feeling really good. I have a cup of tea made. This is one of my favorite mugs ever, actually. I just wanted to show it to you. This is an Epcot Spaceship Earth mug. So if you've ever been to Disney World and you've been to Epcot, then this should look pretty familiar. But I love this mug so much and I wanted to show it to you. I'm not sure if they still sell it, but definitely recommend if you're a Disney fan. Like, this is just such a unique mug to have in your collection. Today's tea is Butterscotch Blondie, which I recently just ordered like 4 or 5 boxes off of Amazon in bulk. So really love this one and the vanilla chai tea. They're so good. So I've got my tea, I've got my makeup. It's beautiful and sunny. And we're just going to spend our time playing with makeup and talking about Grey's Anatomy. There's really nothing better than that. Okay. So I am going to start off by saying that I did not care for this episode. Now, if you're watching along with me, this is season 17, episode 9. This is the latest episode, and it's really all focused on Teddy. And I'm just going to kick off by saying I did not care for this episode at all. I'm really tired of the show this season rehashing the dream sequence reflection that the show has done in the past. I've talked about it in these videos before, talking about back to season 2 or 3 where Meredith is in a dream state. I think it's season 3, in a dream state in the hospital, and she starts seeing all these different people who have died, including her mom and Denny and all sorts of patients that she's lost that had an impact on her. And I've talked a lot about that and how the show is kind of rehashing that trope in some way, what feels like every single episode this season. And I don't know if it's because of COVID or what, budget cuts maybe. I'm kind of over it. I'm really tired of Meredith still being in the hospital and on a vent with COVID. I feel like we're getting a lot of episodes that just are not moving the plot forward at all. I'm ready to be over this Meredith in a COVID coma storyline. I'm really over Teddy in general, and I'm really over these episodes where nothing happens, the plot doesn't move forward. I just want story. I want something to happen, and that's kind of where I'm at with this. But okay, I'll put my rants aside for a second. Let's just talk about the episode. So in this episode, it's all focused on Teddy. Basically, it's the show's attempt to make me not hate Teddy anymore. Teddy's been pretty hateable now for a while, and I don't know, it didn't work. I still very much am not on Teddy's side. I don't feel sorry for her no matter how hard the show tries to make me feel sorry for her. I feel like Teddy's made a lot of really dumb decisions that have led to her own unhappiness. Yeah, I just don't feel that bad for her. But this show, this entire episode was just feel sad for Teddy, and here's why. So the show's whole premise is that she's in this catatonic state that she kind of went into after DeLuca died. And if you remember, she's the one that was doing surgery on DeLuca. She thought she had saved him, saved his life. That didn't work out. He ended up dying, and, she kind of slipped into this catatonic state. Hasn't been eating, drinking, speaking, sleeping, none of it. She's just been laying in bed, staring at a wall. Something else to remember as well from I think it's from last season or from before the holiday. A while ago, it was revealed that even though she was set to be marrying Owen, she was still sleeping with Karasik and cheating on Owen with Karasik, which in my opinion, she should be with Tom, Karasik, and not with Owen. I don't know how many times we have to do this Teddy and Owen dance where they just, in my opinion, don't belong together at all. We're doing it. The show's doing it. Okay, fine. Teddy cheated on Owen with Tom, and Owen didn't end up showing up to the wedding because he found out about her cheating. So they never actually got married. Owen's been really mad at her. And then DeLuca dies. And so Teddy's just having a hard time. I can get that her character is just not having the best time, but I don't feel sorry for her. Her problems are very much manufactured by her. You know, her problems of cheating. What I mean is like her unhappiness, like a large part of it is her fault because she is the one that decided to cheat. This episode really tried to convince me that it wasn't her fault, that it wasn't really her responsibility, and that I should just feel really, really like sorry for her. And I just don't. Like, she chose to cheat, and Owen has self-respect and decided that he wasn't going to stick around for it. But the show was like, well, she had someone die in 9/11 and that's why she cheated. Guys, are you serious? Like, am I dumb or something? I don't understand. Like, guys, that cannot seriously be the case that these writers are trying to make to me. Like, oh, she fell in love with someone. She fell in love with her roommate. She was amazing. She was the best person that ever lived. She died in 9/11, and that's why Teddy is a trash person. I'm just like, no, you don't have someone die in 2001 and then in 2020 cheat on someone else and say that it was all okay because you lost someone in 9/11. Like, that, I'm sorry, is just not how I operate. That's not how the world works. I mean, if there are people out there that feel differently, I really want to hear that down in the comments. Like, please enlighten me, because that just doesn't make sense to me at all. So in case it wasn't obvious, I am very much on Team Owen, and I've always been on Team Owen. Owen has been one of my favorite characters since he joined the show. I was a big fan of him and Christina together until it just really was clear that they never should have been together in the first place. Just, they didn't want the same things out of life, and that was really sad. But I've always been pretty Team Owen. I think that he's a really good guy, you know, and a character that I can really get behind. And I actually really appreciated the amount of self-respect that he had. Did I appreciate the amount of anger? He probably could stand to like have a little forgiveness in his heart so that he can move on and that he can like be okay and go find someone else. Like, I think that that would be healthy, but do I think that he should just forgive Teddy and take her back because she supposedly has like PTSD, as Amelia tried to explain? Like, no, I don't think that. I think that she might have PTSD from being in the army. She might have PTSD from losing the love of her life in 9/11 and losing her parents around that same time. Like, Teddy has experienced a great deal of loss, and I don't want to disregard that. I don't want you, dear viewer, to think that I don't care about those things for her, because I do, but I just don't think that it justifies her actions with Tom. I just don't. I had a lot of sympathy for Owen as well, where he's like, hey, we all lost DeLuca, but not all of us completely shut down and shirked our responsibilities with our families. Like, hey girl, you've got a kid, you need to take care of your family. And just because you're sad because someone died in 2001 doesn't mean that you can just shut down. Buck up, girl. Where is Teddy getting the therapy that she's always bothered Owen about getting? Like, she's always been on Owen's side, and she's always been supporting Owen into like getting therapy and getting help and like supporting him into better mental health choices. Where's Teddy doing the same thing? Teddy even dated, like way back when, she even dated a psychiatrist at one point, like a PTSD psychiatrist. She was dating him. So like, if she had some sort of underlying PTSD from something that happened all the way back then, you think that that wouldn't have come up when she was dating the psychiatrist? Like, come on. I just found the whole thing to be pretty ridiculous. This is yet another video where I am just ranting, and you'd think that I actually don't like Grey's Anatomy by how much I come on here and rant about it, but the truth is that I do love it. I love the show. I've loved it for years, and that's why I'm like so upset. That's why I'm so impassioned, because I know that the show is better and can be better. Frankly, this is just kind of lazy. I did really appreciate the Celine Dion vibes that we were playing with the entire episode, like the silky pajamas, the like blowing curtains, her dirty blonde hair flowing in the wind. It was very Celine Dion. Like, go watch that music video and then go watch this episode and tell me that they were not trying to pull in all of the Celine Dion energy. One other thing, like, I think this video is just going to be a Teddy rant. I'm sorry, but that's just where I'm at because this episode was literally all about Teddy, so I don't have a lot else to say other than I really hated this episode and really like just dislike this character at this point. But I mean, the writers are the ones that made the mistake of making an entire episode about the most punchable character on this show. So that's where we're at. Like, another thing that pissed me off is like Teddy named their daughter after Allison, the woman that she lost in 9/11, the love of her life. She named their daughter after Allison and didn't tell Owen why she picked that name, didn't tell him that their daughter was named for someone else that she was in love with. Like, I would be super pissed if I were Owen. Like, super, super pissed. I'd be like, you named our daughter after your ex-girlfriend, after your dead ex-girlfriend.
You nicknamed my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster?
You naming your child with another person after your ex, and then you not tell them. And then you tell them a little bit later, for some reason, you tell them after it's already signed, sealed, and delivered, so there's nothing that they can do. They have no way to react to that. Owen had absolutely no agency in that situation. He didn't know what he was agreeing to. Like, I would be so pissed. I would never want my child named after, one of my partner's exes. That's ridiculous. I also just think it's kind of BS that the show never brought this up in Teddy's backstory before. This whole Allison 9/11 thing was kind of ham-fisted in just recently. That was never part of her storyline before. And so it just doesn't feel true or genuine or real in any way. And it's not that I have any problem with the backstory, but it just feels like, well, here's some stuff we made up and threw in there because we weren't sure what else to do. And we needed to find some way for you to feel sympathetic towards this character that is being pretty awful. When I saw that the show was doing a kind of like a what if episode and like flashbacks and things like that, I was really hopeful that they would have brought back Scott Foley, who played Henry, who is, after Denny, like one of the best guest guy characters on the show. Like, Scott Foley's character, Henry, was just phenomenal, and Scott Foley is so cute and adorable, and it totally makes sense that Shonda would have wanted to put him in Scandal and give him that big role, but I loved Henry, and Teddy did not deserve him. The more I think back, the more that I review Teddy and her tenure and her stories on the show, the more that I'm like, oh, you are actually the worst. Because she was also really close with Christina, and knowing that Christina and Owen were together, Teddy still went to Owen and was like, I love you, pick me, choose me, love me. And Owen was like, no. Girl, like, she's just, it's not cool, that's not cool. That's not acceptable behavior. So turning the attention away from directly at Teddy for a second, I do want to talk about the interactions between Owen and Amelia. And I liked them together. I think that Amelia was kind of trash to Owen, but I didn't really feel like they gave it a real chance. It was like Amelia basically just like ran away from the entire situation, didn't really loop Owen into what was going on with her, and I think we were supposed to feel sorry for Amelia in that situation, and I really didn't. I was like, you married this dude, you're going and hiding at someone else's house because like you're all depressed and stuff, you're not talking to him about what you're going through. And I think if she had just had a simple conversation with Owen, everything would have been fine. This is around her, getting pregnant and not wanting a baby and just feeling really unprepared because she'd lost a baby before. And Owen, had always wanted a family, and for whatever reason, he keeps ending up with these women that don't want families. Now, he's got a family now, and he's got kids, and things have worked out for him in that regard finally, but it's like, how does he keep choosing these women that don't want to have kids when, like, the number one thing that he wants is to have kids? Like, that kind of made me mad, but then it also made me mad that it could have just been a simple conversation between him and Amelia, and they could have worked it out, but instead she went and hid at Meredith's house for like weeks and weeks and weeks. And so then Owen was like, okay, well, I guess we're done then, bye. And I get that. I actually really get that. If you're married to someone and they go and hide at someone else's house and won't talk to you, what else are you supposed to do? So I never really appreciated the end of their relationship. It just kind of always felt very unnatural, but it is what it is because I do like Amelia with Link, and I love that actor. He was so good on Asheville. So I'm really happy that he's still on the show, and I think he and Amelia are really great together. Amelia got over herself and she's got a family and all of that, you know, things really worked out. I really feel like Amelia was wrong in this case when she was talking to Owen about Teddy, and she's like, you have to forgive her. She has PTSD and you need to let her grieve and you need to let her process this. Like, maybe if Teddy would ever have a conversation with anyone about what she was going through. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, she still cheated on Owen, and Owen is, in my opinion, just acting like someone who has a little self-respect, and I really disagree with Amelia in this situation. Because truthfully, I feel like Amelia believes that Teddy should just be let off the hook for her mistakes and for her wrongdoing because she's had a hard life. And I think that you can have forgiveness and you can have understanding about that, but Teddy hasn't even been forthcoming about what she's been going through, so how is Owen ever supposed to let her off the hook or even begin to process it on her own? None of it makes sense. And at the end of the day, like, Teddy cheated, and I don't feel like the way that it was written was that she cheated because she had someone die in 9/11. Like, I'm just gonna still come back to that. That's just not the way that the story was written. And so it doesn't make sense that that would be like the excusing factor. I think it does explain why DeLuca's death might be putting her in like this more catatonic state. I think that's legitimate. That makes sense to me, and I think that we should all have sympathy for her in that regard. You know, but Owen was in that operating room too. I have a hard time with it. I genuinely do wonder if the show is just really cutting the budget this season because of COVID, and maybe there's some limitations on how many people they can have in the show at any given time, because it really feels like they're doing everything they can to limit the cast and limit their interaction. I mean, each episode is really, you know, pretty focused on one or two single characters lately, and they keep finding ways to bench characters. So they found a way to effectively bench Meredith. Now, she was more prominent in this episode than she's been in many recent episodes, so that was nice. But they've benched Miranda. They killed off DeLuca. Like, they've just found a way to take several characters and either like remove them from the show or bench them. And I do wonder if it's because of COVID or because of budget cuts or what have you. But I also kind of wish that the showrunners would just be honest about that instead of just giving us these like pretty poorly written, non-plot important episodes. You know what show I am really enjoying lately? Station 19. I feel like Station 19 is doing such a great job. I again was really impressed with how they're dealing with Karina's grief of losing her brother. I feel like putting her on Station 19 so that she can process all of that is actually pretty smart, considering all of the like random weird episodes that they want to be doing on Grey's Anatomy. They need to give that character the space and time to grieve her brother, but at the same time, Grey's Anatomy just isn't the right place for her to be doing that at the moment. And I really like her relationship with, her name is escaping me, but the female firefighter on Station 19. I'm really liking their relationship, and I thought that the way that they handled the entrance of her Italian friend, I think that was really interesting, and the way that they played with some themes of jealousy throughout the episode. I really appreciated that. Station 19 is doing a really good job. You know, if there are any sort of budget cuts, you're not really feeling them on Station 19. No one's really being like written out of the show for multiple episodes. You still have pretty much all your characters, and each one of them is going on a very different, you know, kind of emotional journey each episode, and I'm really enjoying how it's playing out. Like, Station 19 is actually, I hate to say it, but it's actually like a better show than Grey's Anatomy right now. I think my last rant about this episode is the comments that Amelia made about Owen strangling Christina. Now, this happened like way back. You know, Amelia brought this up and said like, hey, you had PTSD and you didn't talk to anyone about it, and you did things that you never thought that you would do. Why can't we apply that same feeling to Teddy? I just don't think that that's like a comparison, because I think doing something involuntarily in your sleep is not the same thing as making a very, very conscious choice while you're awake. Like, it's just not. She was awake. She was conscious of what she was doing, and she was choosing to do it anyway because she wasn't happy with Owen. She, you know, has all this baggage from them not working out and from him choosing Christina over her, which was also made clear in this episode, by the way, when her like imagination was making Dream Owen, you know, talk to her as though she was Amelia or Christina and he was forgetting who she was. Clearly still has some sort of complex about his exes. That's not really fair. And to me, that's more why she cheated more than it being some sort of like PTSD response. That just didn't make sense to me. And I really disagree with Amelia on that. And I think that they bring in Amelia as this character to try to be a foil for people to recognize their own issues with mental health and their own scars in a way. And I appreciate that and I can get behind that, but I just really don't think that that's the situation we're in with Teddy. It's just not, right? Okay, guys, I think I have ranted about this episode enough. I'm really sorry for like the negative vibes that I had in this episode. If we're gonna leave ourselves with anything positive, it's all the Celine Dion vibes that we were getting from this episode. Just so beautiful. I mean, there's one thing that you can't say about this episode that it wasn't beautiful, because it absolutely was visually stunning. I have a lot of problems with the plot. I have a lot of problems with this character and just a lot of problems with the writing right now in general. It's still Grey's Anatomy. It's still a show that I am in for and that I will watch week in, week out. So I guess that's what the writers are going for, right? That's what the network's going for. I'm still in, I'm still invested, and I'm hoping that in the next couple of weeks that we'll actually get plot movement. It does seem like we are still going to be in Meredith's like dream beach land next week, and I am just hoping that that's the last time, but we will see. I very much need that to come to a conclusion and need us to get back on track to like just a regular good old-fashioned Grey's Anatomy where everyone is alive and not in a catatonic dream state, you know? Like, that's what I need. But with that, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really like sitting down and playing with makeup and just talking about the TV shows that I'm enjoying. So if you liked this video, please don't forget to leave it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments what you think. Am I totally wrong here? Like, did you like this episode? If you did, I really want to hear why. And if you disagree with kind of my assessment about Teddy, I also want to like, let's talk about it. Like, leave me a comment down below, guys. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. I am here on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern. So if this is something that you're enjoying, please consider subscribing. It would mean so much to me. Thanks again for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.